It's something you learn to live with, because from time to time it will always pop up in your life. It's the month. I mean, in 2 days, it will be exactly 5 years. So June is the month. So yeah, you learn to live with it and just move on. You don't let it control your life anymore.
Yeah, and thank God for the comfort, and that we as Christians can comfort others from the place of comfort that we have received from God. So I'm talking with Ijeoma John Chieme, who's sharing generously from her experience of widowhood, healing, and remarriage. Ijeoma, but you see, I'm calling you IJ, so that's what it's going to be.
Yes.
Welcome to Blossom with Busola.
Thank you.
I've been so looking forward to having this opportunity to chat with you. And this may sound weird, as there's so much pain in what we're going to talk about. But it's about how the Lord Jesus Christ helped you walk through it. And as believers in Jesus Christ, we need to have a God perspective on loss, grief, and on healing from grief. So thank you for coming along to share with me and my audience how you walked through your path of grief, the path of losing your first husband, widowhood, and coming through on the other side, healing, and now remarriage. Now let me take you back to that period, if I may. And you just said nearly 5 years now, 5 years in this case, right? Talk about the grief. Describe the grief.
That season of grief. First of all, it really hits you like a thunderbolt. And suddenly you're in a maze, confusion. The hardest part is thinking about your life from that day onwards. That's the hardest, the very hard part. That was so difficult. And I'm like, God, I don't even want to, I want to take it one day at a time. I don't want to think about my life 5 years, 10 years on, because it would just drag on. You would just feel that it would be endless.
That was like too much to start thinking about.
Yes, it was too much, because the emptiness, the loneliness, it was too much.
Let's talk about the relationship with, let me say, with Ike Okafor. Since you have another Ike today. you love
always laugh whenever that comes up.
You love holding on to names. Ijeoma Okafor as a single girl. Then you got married to someone who had the same surname, Okafor. So
I got married to Ike Okafor.
Ike Okafor.
Ike Okafor passed on. Now I'm married to Ike John Chieme.
Can you just imagine that? So now when we talk about Ike, so we say first Ike, second Ike, or how do we? Okay.
Ike 1 and Ike 2.
Okay. So talk about the relationship with Ike 1. I know a bit about it. I knew you when you were cutting.
Yes.
I saw you with all your lovely, bubbly eyes. I knew when he used to come to Lagos to visit you back in Alidada. I got
yes.
Knew you in Kaduna when you were married. We came over, my husband and I, and spent some time with you, about a week or nearly a week with you, and a lot of things in between.
Yes.
A lot of things in between. Tell us about that relationship.
Where do I start from to talk about that relationship?
Just a little bit.
It was a beautiful relationship. It was a beautiful relationship. It was a relationship based on trust. There was a lot of trust between us. It was a relationship that was very sacrificial on both ends, and it was a relationship that was filled with appreciation and love.
So 5 years on now, you just said, well, it will be 5 years.
Yes, it will be 5 years in 2 days' time. And definitely your mind will go back to the events of that day, but you don't dwell on it. But incidentally, Google has a way. Google has been popping up my photos.
Exactly.
my events. Photos that were taken in the course of the illness, this day 4 years ago, this day 5 years ago, like that. So the memories are there, but I look at it and I smile at what would have been, but it's no more. And one thing I don't do anymore is to sit down and cry. No.
Okay.
Sitting down and grieving about it won't change it. Not that occasionally there are things that happen. There are memories that come to your mind, and a few tears will drop down and all of that, and you remember. You don't totally forget. 5 years on.
And in your new
time last year.
Yeah.
I think sometime last year, I was talking with my mom.
Yeah.
About something. So we're talking about him, and tears just, started coming down my eyes at the plans and the dreams that we had that didn't materialize.
You were already remarried by then.
Yes, I was. But even at that, you don't dwell on it. Your emotions come to the fore. Your emotions come to the fore. I'm a very emotional person. Your emotions come to the fore. And you just find tears coming down your eyes. You have fond memories of the person. You have sweet memories of the person. They say that to live in the heart of those you
love
is not to die.
Yeah.
You understand? So you have fond memories of that person, and for goodness sake, it's 20-something years of is half of your life, a major part of your adult life. So the children talk about it, and we remember and say, oh, if he were the one, this is what he would say, this is how he would say it, and we'll laugh. Well, and we looked forward. We always said to each other that we'll be together until we're 80. Then after that, the Lord is free to take any one of us.
To have trusted, unflinching faith in God.
Yes.
Yet he died.
Oh my goodness. That was so hard. That was so hard. It's like, oh my God, this God that you served so much, couldn't even deliver you out of this situation, that sort of thing, like all this life of dedication, to the Lord, prayer,
childhood,
and everything, I was so, how can this happen to me? How can this happen to me?
How did you tackle that?
I said, I will not belittle God. Yeah. And I said that I will exalt the Lord.
Hallelujah.
To continue to believe God.
Yeah.
If we go to the book of Hebrews, you understand, there were those who did not see that promise by records, but yet, they believed. And that was what also convinced me that it was not without God's consent. The devil is not stronger than the Lord.
What things do people say then that you found helpful?
But like someone said to me, she had been widowed, like maybe at that point, maybe 8 years or more. She said to me when she came, she said that she just said that, I've been through this,
Okay.
So look at me. She said to me, look at me, I have survived. It's a question of time, but you will survive. You will make it. So that was encouraging, coming from someone who had walked that path and walked it at a younger age than I was with. You understand? So, and there are words, and honestly, when you lose someone so dear, are close to you, it doesn't help to say too many words.
That's true.
It doesn't help.
Easily say the wrong
words. Yeah, you can just let the person cry. Just let the person cry, cry it out.
Let's move to the other side. Somebody told you something about your being her excellent.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, now I remember that someone said to me that now you have become her excellency.
Tell us about that.
And I'm like, what do you mean by become her excellency? He said, now you are the wife of God now. Your excellency, anything you ask the Lord, he will do for you. And that really, I felt that was very mean. I felt that was, it was uncalled for.
And what did you say to her?
I said to her, I said, we can trade places, because I wasn't complaining. I didn't desire to be. I mean, we know who this is a club that people keep. It's not what you want. It is not. You didn't ask for it. You just become a registered member.
You make it sound. You make it sound funny.
Into a club that you have no desire belonging to. So how can you tell me that, I've become her excellency, anything I ask the Lord, he will do for me? So why don't you also desire that estate? Why don't you desire that estate to become her excellency, so that anything you ask the Lord? Is that the criteria for the Lord to answer prayers?
I guess that was one of
that was really one of the hard ones. It was really one of the hard, in fact, if not the hardest thing I ever heard anyone say.
Going to church brought you much pain. And many would expect that, as a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, passionate for the Lord, as I've always known you to be, that church would be a very helpful place to be. Why was that?
Well, it was, it wasn't as if it wasn't as if church was, why it was so hard. Why it was so hard for me was because I expected a miracle.
Of healing.
Yeah, I expected that miracle of healing for him. I trusted the Lord for it. I was documenting things, how I would share my testimony, and you come to church and people are sharing testimonies, and the question in your heart is, Lord,
why didn't you do my own?
Yes, why didn't you give me the same miracle?
My husband and
why didn't you give me that miracle? But all this stem from the emotions that you're going through at that time.
And then seeing couples.
Yeah, and then seeing couples.
And there was jealousy. Didn't you say? You said something about
Yes.
Tell us about that.
When I see husband and wife together, particularly the ones that are in love and showing, affection.
Open display of affection.
Open display of affection. And I'm like, oh my God, can't these people see my
Even very close ones in your house?
Can't people see my pain? Can't they see my pain that I'm all alone, and this would be triggering memories and all of that? So it's not like they are out to hurt you. They are not out to hurt you. It was their normal way of life, because people need to keep on living, even when we have suffered loss.
People have regrets when they lose loved ones. What was your experience of this?
People have regrets, most especially when they look back at the things they wish they had done, which they didn't do. They look back at
things they did, which they wish
they did, which they shouldn't have done. It's like, if I had known I would lose this person so quickly, I would have, I probably would have been nicer. I probably wouldn't have quarreled so much. I probably, because I'm big on marriage, on having a happy marriage. I'm big on it,
Because we had one.
Yeah, because I had one. So it makes no sense to be unhappy.
So about regrets then?
No, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. I gave Ike my all. I gave him my all, and he knew I gave him my all, So I don't have any regrets at all. Not having regrets, it also helped me to move on. There's nothing I wish that I could have done better with him. No, there was something he said to Chidera. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that to you. When he told her about, Chidera is my first child, he told her about his illness. Because they are pretty close. He said to her that when you marry your sister, I want you to be the wife that your mother was to me.
Oh, wow. That was a huge compliment.
It was a huge one. Like you don't need to look for an example. You have your mother, follow in her footsteps.
You mentioned to me that at some point you had to ask God to cover your shame. And I wondered, what shame? What shame was there in losing one's husband to death?
I felt naked.
How was that?
I felt I had been uncovered. This sense of shame, it's like, okay, this man has been taken away. You're alone. I felt like I was naked walking on the street. First of all, it starts like an emotion, you feel really vulnerable. You feel really vulnerable, like people would take advantage of you. You don't have a husband anymore. You understand? So you have to make up your mind to be assertive where you need to be.
And you mentioned something about your driver.
Oh,
something connected to you.
Yes, So he was his personal driver, or if I
he drove the family, like he drove.
Yes, he was driving the family. If I needed to go somewhere, he would take me and all of that. But after he died, it was like,
you and the boss of me.
And meanwhile, I was the one still paying you.
Still paying him. The person that was one wasn't paying.
But you felt you couldn't take instructions. You would take the instructions, but grudgingly. There were just some things you couldn't accept and all of that.
So
all of that too makes you feel like, oh, okay, so the person that they feel was covering you is gone. What can you do? And I quickly nipped it in the bud for my own sake.
There was a prayer that you made, which I found very interesting. After IK1 died, you said, God, I don't want to be a woman again. Take away everything that makes me a woman.
Well, that prayer for me, I said to the Lord that since he has chosen to make me a widow so young, that I don't want to feel like a woman anymore. I don't want to feel like a woman anymore. Whatever emotions, whatever, I just want to let those emotions die.
And you said to God that, he's the husband of the widow.
Yes.
So he should just lie on your bed.
Yeah, he will not come down to lie on my bed with me, So those were all the emotions that.
So that desire to have somebody to be on the bed with you, somebody to hold you. So those were the things you were asking.
Yeah, God. Those were the things.
Was that prayer answered?
About me not feeling like a woman again. The Lord chose not to answer that prayer.
There was also something you did practically that made you say, nobody dares. Who is going to feed people?
Okay, you have to remember that one, Abby.
Sure.
At that time, I was building the school. I was building the school. So my office, I decided that I would give myself a very big office.
And make it intimidating.
Yeah, and in my mind at that time, I'm like, this office needs to be intimidating. I want to intimidate. Nobody should come in here and want to.
No man.
Specifically, no man should come in here and want to intimidate me. You know, because in my mind, I always felt that widows are vulnerable. You know, and people just want to, and when you don't have a husband, people just, and I didn't also want that, you know, that pity, that I needed to take myself out of that and be my own self.
You wanted to show you can take care of yourself.
Of myself. I did, and everyone was asking, what are you doing with this kind of office now?
Though I had not been there, but the way you describe it,
and I'm like,
your mansion.
I'm like, I need that office. Anyway, so that was it. But God has really been faithful to think that I can be having this conversation, smiling. You know, it can only be the mercy and favor of the Lord. Honestly, I see myself as highly favored, you know, for the Lord to look on me with, you know, all this pain and decide that, you know what, let me make it up to you. You know?
Yeah, and thank God for the comfort, and that we as Christians can comfort others from the place of comfort that we have received from God. So I'm talking with Ijeoma John Chieme, who's sharing generously from her experience of widowhood, healing, and remarriage. So thanks again, IJ, for sharing so openly. And we're going to move on to how it went from IJ or Ijeoma Okafor to Ijeoma John,
Chieme,
the wife of IK2.